The alien's skull caved in with a sickening crunch as the human's armored fist connected, spattering the sterile white medbay walls with neon blue gore. Commander Sirius staggered back in shock, mandibles flaring in horror as the human he had just revived from cryosleep stood over the twitching corpse of Dr. Rigel, the ship's chief medical officer. Just moments ago, the NS Zephyr exploration vessel had discovered the derelict UNSS Odyssey drifting in uncharted space. Sirius, ever curious about the long-lost human civilization, had led a boarding party to investigate despite his crew's warnings. Within the Odyssey's cryobay, they found a single active stasis pod containing a male human identified as Roger Cooper, a soldier from an ancient war over 2 centuries past. Ignoring the protests of his cautious second-in-command Aldebaran, Sirius ordered the pod transferred to the Zephyr for study, eager to interact with a real human. But upon opening the pod in the medbay, all hell broke loose. Cooper, a product of humanity's brutal interstellar conflicts, reacted with swift violence upon seeing the alien Norcadians, brutally killing Dr. Rigel before the stunned crew could react. As emergency klaxons blared and armed Norcadian security rushed to confront the threat, Sirius found himself regretting his decision to unearth this relic of humanity's blood-soaked past. The human, he now realized, was more than a mere soldier. Cooper was a living weapon, his body and mind forged in the crucible of a war that nearly drove his species to extinction. And now, awakened aboard an alien vessel with nothing left to lose, this ancient warrior would stop at nothing to survive, even if it meant painting the sterile halls of the Zephyr red with Norcadian blood. But Cooper wasn't dead. The medical team underestimated humanity's technology. As the pod began to rapidly thaw Cooper out, his eyes shot open, darting around in confusion and fear at the alien faces gawking down at him. Survival instincts took over. Cooper smashed his fist into the Norcadian medic, reaching to restrain him, his movements a blur. Bones crunched. The medic shrieked as he crumpled. Cooper rolled off the pod, scalpel in hand. He slashed the neck of another medic, blood spraying as she gurgled and fell. Rigel fumbled for a sedative, but Cooper kicked him back. The human stabbed Rigel repeatedly in the chest, until the doctor collapsed in a puddle of blood. Alarms screeched as Cooper bolted into the hall. 2 Norcadian guards raced around the corner, plasma rifles ready, but Cooper was faster. He dodged their shots and pounced. A few brutally efficient stabs and punches later, they both lay motionless. Cooper grabbed a plasma rifle and sprinted down the corridor. Bulkheads began slamming shut around him. Sirius's voice boomed over the intercom. "Security teams, converge on Sector 8. Subdue the human at all costs." The human spotted a sign for the armory. A predatory grin spread across his face as he kicked down the door. Rows of high-tech Norcadian weapons greeted him. Cooper armed himself to the teeth, then continued his rampage. He ambushed a squad of security personnel, cutting them down with ruthless precision. Their screams of terror and pain meant nothing to him. Only one thing mattered now, killing every last alien on board. Sirius paced the bridge, his heart hammering as the human's trail of destruction grew. He hailed the Nest Celestial, trying to keep his voice level. "This is Commander Sirius, requesting immediate backup. The human is slaughtering my crew." Cooper barely felt the plasma bolt scorching his skin as he traded shots with the Norcadians, lost in the fog of war. He advanced relentlessly, each kill fueling his bloodlust. In Cooper's mind, these were the same monsters he'd fought all those years ago. And he would butcher every last one of them, for Earth, for humanity. Cooper charged onto the bridge, his stolen plasma rifle unleashing hell. Norcadian officers and crew fell before his onslaught, their charred corpses littering the deck. Sirius ducked behind a console as bolts whizzed past his head. He drew his sidearm with shaking hands. "Cooper, stand down," Sirius yelled over the chaos. "The war's over. We're not your enemy." The human stalked forward, his eyes devoid of mercy. "Bullshit, your kind will always be my enemy." He aimed the rifle at Sirius's face. "Now give me access to your comms. I'm signaling the UNSC." Sirius's mind raced. If Cooper contacted his people, It could reignite the war and doom them all. He had to stop this madness. Listen to me. The Human Covenant War ended centuries ago. We've made peace with your species. Cooper snarled. You expect me to believe that after everything your filthy hingeheads did? Fuck peace. It's time for you to die. As Cooper's finger tightened on the trigger, Sirius lunged. He tackled the human, sending them both crashing to the floor. They grappled savagely, trading blows. Cooper was stronger, faster, but Sirius fought with the Norcadian's tenacity. Cooper smashed Sirius's face with the rifle butt. Purple blood sprayed. Sirius felt his mandibles crack, but he held on, wrenching the weapon from Cooper's grip. The human roared and headbutted Sirius. Stars exploded across his vision. Cooper's hands locked around Sirius's throat, squeezing. Suddenly the ship quaked. The Nurse Celestial had arrived. Armored Norcadian Marines stormed the bridge, plasma rifles blazing. Cooper rolled away from Sirius, snatching up a fallen pistol. He fired back, downing several Marines, but there were too many. Cooper dove for the exit, plasma scorching his armor. He sprinted through the Zephyr's corridors as Marines pursued. Alarms wailed and bulkheads sealed around him, but the human's augmented speed and reflexes let him stay ahead, barely. He reached the hangar bay. A sleek Norcadian dropship sat in the center, its hull glinting with advanced stealth tech. Cooper grinned savagely. He'd flown dropships like this back in Marine training. Cooper vaulted into the cockpit and powered up the engines. The controls were similar enough. He skimmed the flight manual, then disengaged the docking clamps. The dropship rose on anti-grav thrusters. Sirius stumbled into the hangar, clutching his wounds. Cooper, no, don't do this. The human ignored him. He punched the thrusters to full. The dropship rocketed out of the bay, tearing through the containment field. It whirled to face the Celestial. Cooper armed the fusion missiles. His fingers flew over the targeting computer. He achieved lock, a predatory smile on his bloody lips. Then he paused. The Norcadians. If they were telling the truth about peace, this could restart the war. As much as he craved vengeance, he couldn't risk it, not without knowing more. Cooper wrenched the stick to the side. The missiles streaked past the Celestial, detonating in the void. He punched in a randomized vector and hit the stealth drive. Sirius could only watch as the stolen dropship shimmered and vanished, Cooper disappearing into the star-flecked abyss. Cooper punched in the coordinates for the nearest human colony, his mind still reeling from the revelation that centuries had passed. The Norcadian dropship hummed around him, its sleek controls responding to his touch. A blinking light caught Cooper's eye, an incoming distress signal. He opened the channel and a panicked voice filled the cockpit. This is Outpost Zeta. We're under attack by unknown hostiles. They're slaughtering us. Send help. Cooper's blood ran cold. More aliens. He diverted course, pushing the engines to their limit. If there were humans out here, he had to protect them. The dropship dropped out of warp at the outpost's coordinates. Cooper stared out at the chaos unfolding before him. Insectoid ships swarmed around the battered mining outpost, blasting its defenses. Small figures in mining exosuits fought back desperately, but the aliens' weapons tore through them. The comms crackled. Mayday, Mayday, we can't hold them off. Cooper gripped the controls. Outpost Zeta, this is UNSC Marine Roger Cooper. I'm engaging the hostiles. He dove into the fray, the dropship's advanced weapons lighting up the Zarvax ships. Plasma beams sliced through their hulls, missiles turning them to blossoming fireballs. Cooper flew like a man possessed, the old battle rage taking hold. The miners watched in awe as the lone dropship decimated the Zarvax fleet. The aliens tried to swarm Cooper, but he outmaneuvered them at every turn, leaving a trail of burning wreckage. Finally, the last Zarvax ship exploded, and an eerie quiet settled over the outpost. Cooper landed in the hangar, and the miners rushed to meet him, cheering. Their leader, a grizzled man named Hawkins, clapped Cooper on the shoulder. That was some damn fine flying, son. Who are you with? UNSC 105th Orbital Shock Troops. Cooper looked around at the battered miners. What the hell were those things? Hawkins spat. Zarvax. Been hitting colonies all over. UNSC's been too slow to respond. Didn't think they were a real threat. Cooper's fists clenched. They're a threat, all right, and I'm going to stop them. He spent the night at the outpost, learning all he could about the Zarvax from the miners. The more he heard, the more his resolve hardened. The Zarvax were monsters, as bad as the Covenant, and humanity was in danger. At dawn, Cooper boarded the dropship, now restocked and rearmed by the grateful miners. Hawkins saw him off. "Give 'em hell, Cooper, for all of us." Cooper nodded grimly. "I will. No one's going to hurt humanity on my watch, not ever again." He rocketed into space, scanning for Zarvax ships. It was time to take the fight to the enemy. Over the next weeks, Cooper waged a one-man war on the Zarvax. He hit their outposts and staging areas, blasting their ships to scrap. He intercepted their comms, learning their plans and infrastructure. Every colony they targeted, he was there first, an avenging angel in Norcadian armor. Tales of his exploits spread like wildfire through the human colonies. They called him the Reaper, the Ghost of Soul. Wherever the Zarvax struck, he appeared, dealing swift retribution. He became a legend, a symbol of human defiance. But Cooper knew he was just one man. He couldn't win this war alone. Humanity needed to stand together like in the old days, and he would carry that message to anyone who would listen. Light years away aboard the Norcadian capital ship Celestial Throne, Commander Sirius watched the footage of Cooper's attacks with growing unease. This lone human was turning the Zarvax's attention squarely onto humanity as a whole. If Cooper kept provoking them, it could spark a war that would consume them all. Sirius turned to his intelligence officer. "I want eyes on Cooper at all times. The moment he surfaces, notify me. We have to contain this before it gets out of hand." The officer saluted. "Yes, Commander." Sirius turned back to the view screen, his mangled mandibles aching. He had a feeling this was only the beginning of Cooper's crusade, and if the human couldn't be reasoned with, then Sirius would have to take matters into his own claws. One way or another he would stop Cooper before it was too late. The fate of 3 species hung in the balance. As Cooper's crusade against the Zarvax intensified, he uncovered a disturbing secret during a raid on a Zarvax command post. Hacking into their communications, he discovered transmissions between the Zarvax leadership and a high-ranking Norcadian official, Aldebaran Sirius's former second-in-command. The messages revealed a sickening truth. Aldebaran was manipulating the Zarvax, using them as a tool to weaken humanity and pave the way for Norcadian supremacy. Rage boiled within Cooper as he realized the depth of Aldebaran's treachery. He had to be stopped, no matter the cost. Cooper raced to contact Sirius, their past animosity now irrelevant in the face of this new threat. The Norcadian commander was initially skeptical, but as Cooper shared the damning evidence, Sirius's eyes widened in shock and anger. "I never trusted Aldebaran, but this is madness," Sirius growled, his claws clenching. "We have to stop him before it's too late." Together they hatched a desperate plan, a frontal assault on the Zarvax homeworld, where Aldebaran had established a secret base. It was a near-suicide mission, but they had no choice. The fate of both their species hung in the balance. Cooper and Sirius rallied their forces, a ragtag fleet of human and Norcadian ships, united by a common enemy. As they approached the Zarvax homeworld, swarms of insectoid fighters descended upon them, plasma blasts stitching the void. The battle was brutal and bloody, losses mounting on both sides. Cooper danced through the chaos in his stolen Norcadian dropship, blasting Zarvax ships to pieces. Sirius commanded the fleet with ruthless efficiency, his tactical brilliance shining through. But it wasn't enough. The Zarvax were too many, their defenses too strong. They had to take out Aldebaran's base, the heart of the enemy's power, and Cooper knew there was only one way to do it. "Sirius, I'm going in," he said over the comms, his voice grim. "I'll take a strike team and breach the base's defenses. You keep those bugs off our backs." Sirius hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Understood. Good luck, Cooper. Give Aldebaran hell." Cooper gunned his engines and dove towards the planet's surface, a handful of Norcadian and human ships following in his wake. They dodged and weaved through the Zarvax's anti-air fire, explosions blossoming all around them. They hit the ground hard, Cooper's ship ploughing through the twisted metal of the Zarvax structures. He leaped out, rifle in hand, his strike team fanning out behind him. They carved a path of destruction through the base, Cooper's rage and battle-hardened skills unstoppable. But as they neared the heart of the base, a familiar figure stepped out to block their path. Aldebaran, clad in heavy Norcadian battle armor, his eyes glinting with madness and ambition. "You fools," he hissed, leveling his plasma cannon at Cooper. "You think you can stop me? I am the future of the Norcadian race, the architect of our ascension." Cooper didn't waste time on words. He charged, dodging Aldebaran's blasts, closing the distance in seconds. They clashed in a furious melee, armored fists slamming into flesh, plasma blades sizzling through the air. It was a battle of titans, neither giving an inch. But Cooper's enhancements and battle rage gave him the edge. With a roar of primal fury, he smashed through Aldebaran's defenses and buried his fist in the traitor's chest, crushing armor and bone alike. Aldebaran stumbled back, violet blood spurting from his ruined chest. He looked up at Cooper with shock and hatred, then slumped to the ground, his eyes going dark. But there was no time to savor the victory. Warning klaxons blared, the base's self-destruct sequence activated. Cooper looked around at his battered strike team, seeing the realization in their eyes. They wouldn't make it out in time. "Go," Cooper ordered, his voice calm despite the pain racking his body. "Get to the ships, I'll hold them off." They hesitated, loyalty warring with survival instinct. But Cooper's glare brooked no argument. They nodded and sprinted for the exit, leaving Cooper alone in the heart of the enemy stronghold. He limped to the base's control room, his wounds bleeding heavily. With fading strength, he input the final sequence to trigger the self-destruct. As the timer counted down, he slumped against the console, his thoughts turning to the countless lives he had saved, the sacrifices he had made. "Forgive me," he whispered to his long-dead comrades, to the family he had left behind centuries ago. "I did my best." The world went white as the base exploded, the blast consuming the Zarvax city, vaporizing their war machine. And with it, the legend of Roger Cooper, the savior of humanity, winked out of existence. Miles above, Sirius watched the detonation light up the planet's surface, his heart heavy with loss and grim satisfaction. They had won, but the cost had been immense. Cooper's sacrifice would not be forgotten. As the remnants of the Allied fleet limped away from the Zarvax homeworld, Sirius made a silent vow. He would carry on Cooper's legacy, working to build a future of cooperation and peace between humanity and the Norcadians. It would not be easy, the scars of the past running deep, but for the sake of all, they had to try. The war was over, but the struggle for understanding, for forgiveness, had only just begun. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.